Full force then.
Yeah, since we have the fulcrum here, let's start. And last week I didn't make much progress on Crimson side. Aside from it, I was busy working on some test failures I found in Windows QA Suite, and also I was reading the design of F2FS, namely the file system optimized for Flash. I think it's a very good fit for our usage. The difference between F2F and the SeaStor is something like, one is that it's a general purpose file system, but what we want is more like a heavy store. So I'm wondering if I can start trying to sort of like port it to SeaStor. And along the way, I think I can solidify the design and understand better of the configuration of a storage system targeting flash storage. And aside from it, I think the next step is to reredex change to introduce the iterator and review trim change to bring Blue Store to Crimson. That's me. Trim.
Yeah, so last week just cleaned the patch and solved conflicts. Samuel suggested we for the username space we used a prefix Crimson instead of Ceph. Do you agree with that?
I don't care about the namespace name specifically, but I think that it would be nice if we had a single include file that were at the top of every one of these files that compiles differently in the two environments, such that the only difference between the two of them was 1 pound defined right at the top. That's what I would like to see.
Sorry, can you repeat?
Okay, so the way you have it for the classic OSD version, it's unnamespace, right?
Yes.
For the alien version, it's def : alien : And then for some of the Crimson stuff that has to be compiled a third way, it's Crimson : My suggestion is that each of these three have one single top-level namespace name with one single include file that sort of turns the set of defined symbols that you're using into one of these three things. That way it's easy to change the behavior in the future, and it's easy for people reading it to find a single unifying file that explains what's going on.
But there are several headers has defined the different namespace. So you mean we put out?
Yeah. So add one new header file whose only purpose is to define this one macro symbol as one of three different things. So
put all the headers. Put all the headers content into the one single.
No. Just a new header file with just like 5 lines in it that just includes the part you've copy pasted throughout several of the includes.
So probably, if I understand correctly, what you suggest is to define a macro, something like begin a Crimson namespace and namespace and.
Or begin common namespace, because the whole point here is that it isn't a Crimson namespace. That's an alien or a Crimson namespace, right? But my goal is that anyone who finds this should be able to immediately find the file that it's defined in with an explanation of what's going on. Because I guarantee you there's no way someone new reading the code base is going to be able to understand what those defines are.
Okay.
Yeah.
If, I still need to figure out. So it means that all the namespace will be built together. because I mean that with the SeaStor and the Alien Store, there should two namespaces should exist together.
Yeah, this is going to
one
build two of
binary.
them, right? In one case, it'll be it's exactly what you've done, but the common bits will be abstracted into a single file.
Okay.
Or I can take a crack at trying to show you what I mean tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
But the bottom line is we have to find a way to make it so that, like, you have those like conditional statements that just that you have those if-defs with conditionals on with SeaStor or with Alien, and I saw more than one version of them that meant semantically the same thing, and we need to not have that. That's how you get typos. So ideally, we'd like a really simple, easy to like something that anyone new reading the code will be able to quickly link up to. Oh, it's because it's being built three different ways. Does that make sense?
Yes.
More importantly, not only is it being built three different ways, all three ways are winding up in the same binary.
So all the about the Crimson OSD, SeaStor and Alien Store, they will build into the one binary. We couldn't use the micro definition to accept one case. We have to include
Your whole
both.
purpose in doing it, it won't build in, it won't include anything you're not currently including. Let me put it that way.
Oh, okay, so could you please give me an example and send
Sure.
me by email?
Yeah. Or
Thank you.
I'll send you a branch based on your PR.
Thank you.
Ifu, does that make sense to you at all?
Yeah, it makes sense to me.
No, I'm asking Kifu if this. I found it to be very difficult to parse the pound define logic in those files, basically.
My recollection is that my understanding is that you're suggesting that we need to consolidate all the if defined macros in a single place, so we can consolidate
it should expose one symbol for the base namespace, and three booleans for the three possible setups.
Yes, instead
and
of
every other file should refer to those four things.
Yeah.
That's what I'm suggesting.
It helps to improve the readability and help the new joiner to understand what's going on there instead of reading all the stuff everywhere. Yeah, I agree.
It'll also help with error messages if you inadvertently refer to the bare unnamespaced thing. Right now, you'll get a linker error because it won't work right.
Yeah, we run into it before.
Yeah, so if you do it this way, because all three of them do have namespacing associated with them, you'll see the namespace in the resolution. And so you wouldn't be able to do it by accident. You'd have to do it on purpose.
I think
okay,
we're on the same page.
Okay, I'll try to explain what I mean in more detail tomorrow. Or, yeah, probably tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, let's all.
I did want to point out one other thing. I think that before we get too far into reviewing it, we need to fix the fact that you can't build SeaStor and Alien Store at the same time. Because we can't actually evaluate how intrusive this is going to be until we solve that problem, and we definitely want to solve that problem. It needs to be a runtime configuration thing, not a compile time thing.
But I sort of agree with you, Sam, that we need to both of them. I think it's more for evaluating the performance of Crimson OSD and understanding how the bottom half hurts the performance. But I don't really understand how it.
No. What I mean is I don't like the fact that in other words, we skipped some of the work by making it so that it's a compile flag. She mentioned that she would need to add more of these pound defines to more files in order to make them coexist in the same binary.
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe I'm misunderstanding. Was that accurate, Chunmei?
Yes. So I think if we define maybe three namespace and Every place is use the namespace as the prefix, and then the code can be existed together.
So this does solve. Well, okay. I guess we'll have to talk over email.
But I'm not sure how many files need to be modified to make the different namespace coexist in the same binary. So we can try it.
Probably I can give it a try this afternoon before them trying it out, and I will post the branch. I send the branch to all of you if I made some visible progress. And that's it.
Yeah, that's it. I'm still doing the testing to check if the code affect the classic self OSD or this. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And Riddick, how's it going?
I pushed the amended branch with Aerator and made some performance testing. The comment with results is here. Beside of that, well, it turns out that very likely we have an issue, a race condition issue causing Crimson OSD to spin up in a reactor and consume one core and I can observe that also in local testing on both aerated branch and master. So it's not a new thing. I think actually that currently inserter 08 is blocked by Crimson OSD that spin up it's one core and it's unresponsive. I'm going to take a look on that. Also, I made some modifications to SeaStor related to the aerator. They are not necessary to, it's not a build dependency, it's just a optimization. Results for both, with both modifications for and without it have been included in the testing results table. Besides that, I'm experimenting with another modification for SeaStor, which is about using a tagged pointer to store in promise to store a pointer to future state and deduce and derive corresponding pointers for state and future, depending on that, and just 2 bits stored in the low bits of the pointer itself. Still needs testing.
Can you repeat what you just said? What is
okay, I'm experimenting with a modification of possible potential optimization for SeaStor. Idea is to minimize the code memory footprint of Promise base and the cost of managing it that is imposed in future because of detached Promise. Promise base currently has 3 pointers. I think they could be replaced with one single pointer with basically a tagged pointer, which means that you are using pointer to store not only an address, but also some few bits of extra information in the lower parts of the address, which are available to you because of the alignment of your pointee.
Okay.
Anyway, it's just experimental work. I have no idea what the outcome will be. Just
But you will be trading performance for space for performance. That's why if you need to extract bits from a pointer.
Yes, but it's very cheap. Usually you are not blocked by a backend. You are not lacking computational resources in CPU. So if you have one single extra operation like AND, it costs you almost nothing. The same was there's sometimes there's an idea with XOR linked list. The same pattern, actually. But doing this extra work related to pointer, doing the extra work related to masking, unmasking, all that stuff, allows you to do two things, I hope. Minimize the cost of management. There is of the promise future bound things like future detached promise, which needs to do more, which needs to do less because of that. And well, on hot path, future then has actually creates a promise base. And currently, I saw that the instance is put on stack. Those 3 pointers are put on stack. I hope that with them, when that replacing them with a single tagged pointer would encourage compiler to keep it in register. That's my hope. We'll see. We'll see the results. Also, I'm preparing for a presentation next week on CEF Day Poland about Crimson. And preliminary reviewed the Chenmei's PR. That's me.
Did you receive any response from SeaDB?
Not yet.
Sorry, the SeaStor submit. Okay.
I see.
Okay.
Not yet. Well, I'm going.
Maybe we should call Avi directly. I think it's high time that you get response.
I think so.
Probably. And Ronen.
Okay, I was doing hiking for too long before my age, it seems. But I'm working on, apart from that, I'm working first reading for our meeting next week, the week after that in States. And I'm working on finishing first usable admin socket commands for the Crimson OSD. Works most of the time. I'm still having some strange crashes that I'm trying to solve. I probably made some mistake in creating futures without keeping hold of the data or something like that. This is what it seems to be. This is a question that, let's say, uninitiated question. What is the best way to, suppose you have a function that returns, for example, a future bool. Okay? You have it might return a future bool, or it might return an exception. A normal future choice function. What is the standard way to force waiting for the result and translating either the exception or failure into, let's say, an actual bool, not a future bool? And I mean, if the function returned future returned when waited for returned available future with a true, return actual true. If it returned false or had an exception, return false. What I'm doing now seems a lot of work. It's handle exception, then wrapped, and using checking if available and get zero. A lot of machinery just to extract the result in a safe way. Is there a standard way that I'm missing?
I think you could handle exception method of future allows you to replace the exception with a value, and then if you are in SeaStor thread, you could safely do get on future. So it would looks like func handle exception get, but I'm not sure whether you have SeaStor thread available. If not,
yeah, that's one of the questions I had. Can I count on running in a thread usually?
Well, I don't know. I don't know better way. I don't know how better way than basing on then when you have that would help you if you don't have the SeaStor thread.
Well, I can suppose if I'm not in a thread, I can replace this get with a check on available and failed, isn't it?
Should work, I think. But what if? What would be the case? What would be the case where the value is not available yet?
Okay, this is okay. This is why I can, if I remember correctly, then wrapped is also a wait, isn't it?
Sorry.
Then wrapped.
Yes.
It is a wait also.
Well,
it guarantees availability.
Yes, it will give you it will fire your lambda when the value is available, when the value or exception are available.
I know. Okay. It doesn't cause immediate exception. It does. It means waiting here for. Okay, that's okay. Yes. Okay.
And hold on, I'd like to know how you are going with the testing.
No, I didn't have time to get to it. This is what I have to leave this work now and do it now.
Okay, cool.
Okay. So this is all for me.
Thank you, Brennan. And Sam?
Yep, I've been going through the aerator patch series bit. I think I'm going to try to rebase my what little backload recovery stuff I have so far and just start using it. I think that'll be a good way to get a feel for how it works. Have you guys written any code yet that needs to check whether the interval has changed on the PG? So there are a few different ways to do this, but I think the way I'm going to set it up is so that every future that could possibly block, mostly SeaStor calls, I'm going to wrap in something that checks whether it changed and propagates an exception otherwise. And for every internal wait, like for a message or something, interval changes will just always do the work of finding all of those promises and sending exceptions down them. That way, any backfill or recovery task simply needs a cleanup handler at the end to make sure it takes care of any outstanding objects or state. Otherwise, you have to sort of, every single time you do a .then, you have to like guard it with has the PG changed, okay, bail. So I think I'm going to use the exception machinery for that.
So Sam, what it means that before we accessing an object, we are very likely to pass the PG interval. So we are very likely to have to check PG interval before every then. Is that correct?
Well, it's after every then, really. Just every time you went to sleep and came back, you have to check. Well, we have to deal with the possibility that the PG reset because we're not holding a lock, right? So I think a sensible way to handle this is to just make a point of every time we block on something that isn't SeaStor, the restarting interval, like the code that it actually runs, will just go through all of those promises and error them out. And then for anything that blocks on SeaStor, we just have to wrap that call. Other strategies could be something like taking a lock, but I would prefer not to do that because I don't really want to introduce a convention of a big PG lock.
Yes.
But I'm open to suggestions. I think I'm going to try to do the exception thing for backfill. And I think all of the local state associated with backfill and recovery will be wholly owned by this process, so there won't be any need for checking for anything but an interval change. So I think it maybe won't be so bad, but we'll all have to keep this in mind as we start developing any sort of multi-stage operation.
I don't.
It's no different from the fact that every context in PG in Classic has PG reset guard. Like all of them take an epoch as one of the arguments to the constructor, and they all check it before they actually go and do what the context was going to do.
Actually, I don't have a concern regarding to this change.
This isn't a change yet.
I think it's aligned with how we do this in classic OSD, and we need to do this. And my concern is more like it's very error prone, and we are.
That's true.
Yeah. Because
so another approach could be every one of these places where we could block gets wrapped in a bigger future type, and the only way to get at the underlying future is to give it the epoch you started at. I would be okay with that too. I'm sort of ambivalent about either way. I'm not that ambivalent actually. We'll just do it that way. That's pretty much what I was describing anyway.
Okay.
It's, like I said, it's really no different from thinking about locks and multi-threaded code. Like, we're basically working on a cooperative threading OS, really. We have control over where the yields happen, but we have no control over what happens between them.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyhow, that's all I've got. I do want to get that DM clock server thing merged because I have Crimson code that depends on it. So I've pushed an updated version of that. But that's it for me.
I don't feel strong regarding to my comment. I'm good with it.
Okay, cool. If you're the only one I disagreed with you on was the naming. I wanted to leave scheduler in most of the names just because op item didn't feel helpful to me as a symbol. Okay, other than that, if you're okay with it, hit proof.
Fine with it. Yingxin?
Last week I'm working on the async messenger test peer to verify its compatibility with the existing V2 failover racing and policy tests, and it is still work in progress. And now the async messenger can connect it to the test. And the next step is to implement the commands to respond the test to allow the test peer to respond to the test commands. And I also I attended the 2-day workshop last week. Met with a SeaStor maintainer, and he said that ScyllaDB is majorly using POSIX stack because their bottleneck is at processing, not network. So I will start to ramp up the DBDK and the native stack because as Intel, we would like to know the benefits from DBDK side. So Kefu, I might need your help to use SeaStor with DBDK in Crimson. I have tried before, but blocked by some build CMake issues. So I think I will need your help. But I will try first.
Me on IRC, I can help.
Okay, thank you. That's me.
But aside from the DBDK testing and the testing front, do you have any plan regarding to the messenger or Crimson as a whole as your item?
So in the short term, I will try to enable the native stack and try to do some code cleanup because I have already have some fix to the Crimson Messenger, but I think the code is mess. There are a lot of replicated code because of those fixes. So I will try to do some cleanup. Okay. After that, I will fix some. I will add some missing features in current Crimson Messenger, and I hope after that I can try to work on the SeaStor part maybe. Yeah, in the long term maybe.
Thanks. I think personally, I think Crimson Messenger and its test framework is being matured over time, and probably we can consider it's done feature-wisely. It's pretty much done, and we can move over to other parts of Crimson next year.
Yeah.
Okay. And any questions, guys? Okay.
Have a good week.
Good day and have a good night. See you next week.
Thank you. See you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.